The stewardess was standing there, and she said, "Oh, no. Oh, no." She knew who I was. I had been talking to her. She said, this is what I dread. I said, "What's the matter?" She said, "There's 176 people on this plane. Every one of them is going to say something nasty to me when they get off the plane. They're going to blame me, they're going to blame the airline, and they're going to..." I said, "But you don't have to let that in." She said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, you've got 2 packages, 2 suits that are protecting you from anybody coming to you with that disharmony." She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, you got your uniform." I said, "That's one package, and that's over the other package, which is your body, and then both of those are protecting or covering who you really are, which is how you choose to process all of this and how you choose to think and who you really are." I said, each person that comes up by you and says something negative or nasty, you can just let that only be a message to your uniform, to your package. That's not me, and you can remind yourself, they're not talking to me. They can't get to me with that stuff. They can't have that. I don't let anybody come to me unless they come with love or harmony to who I really am. So you can just say, "Well, I'm very sorry," and have a good... And it's like, and you say, "Well, they didn't get to me, and they didn't get to me. They're not reaching me with that." And sure enough, she stood there and she watched as 176 people got off, and I'd say 150 of them said something nasty to her on the way out. And each time she just sort of smiled and said, "Yes, well, it'll be 2 hours." And she gave them instructions on where to go. And when it was all done, she sat down next to me. She said, "That was fantastic. It's the first time that we've ever had a circumstance like this where I didn't let it bother me." I said, "You don't have to let that stuff into your life." And it's just like in the meditation in the field. When those thoughts start impinging on the field, the pastel that you have created, you don't have to let them in. They bounce. I do it all the time. When I'm driving, and if anybody gives me... I don't take any of that inside. I just say, "Oh, that's them, and that's how they're reacting to my form." Having a quiet mind, in a practical sense, is really understanding that what I'm talking about is not just for discussion. It's for application. If you're the kind of person who has your mind filled with 10 different things that you have to do, and that is producing anxiety, stress, ulcers, colds, backaches, headaches, cramps, runny noses, all of the kinds of physical reactions and manifestations of that kind of thinking, then you have to look at, how can you just get a blank mind, or how can you get a quiet mind? How can you just understand that, supposing you're thinking about, you got to get to work, you've got this report you got to get out, you got to get your taxes done, you got to stop and get some diapers on the way home, now the kids need to have bananas, and they've got dance lessons I've got to get them to, an endless catalog of activities. By using your mind to do that, and to occupy it all the time, none of that is going to get done. See, all of that is going to get done. Regardless, if you're the kind of person who does those things, it's going to get done. The question is, how do you use your present moments? See, anytime you use up your present moment, or anytime that you are thinking anxious thoughts, you're denying the present. You're using up the present moment instead of using it up in a productive, peaceful, serene, calm way. You are somehow believing that you can't get through this day or this moment any other way, that if I don't think about it and worry about it and be anxious about it. But the fact is, it's going to get done. Your taxes are going to get done. You're not going to jail. You're not the kind of person who's going to opt to just simply not do your taxes. You're going to get the diapers. You're going to get the report done. All of that you're going to get done. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in the position that you're in. You would be doing something else, all right? So if you know that it's going to get done, the question is, what's the most efficient and effective and peaceful way to get things done? I use the analogy often of when you're in a hurry, like when your body is in a hurry. That's when you're least effective. And that's when you always drop something. You'll drop the keys, and then you'll start sweating. And then when you start sweating, you find yourself getting more upset. You'll forget something. And you'll walk out the door, and you'll slam the door, and you left the key on the inside. Now you don't have a key. I've talked about when you take a shower. If you rush through a shower because you only have 5 minutes to take a shower, and you finish and you take your shower and then you dry yourself off, you didn't need to take a shower because you're already dirty again. I mean, you're already sweating. You can take the same 5 minutes and take a shower, if that's all you have. And you can do it peacefully. The same 5 minutes. You can push all of the other stuff out, and you can just relax. And if you've got 3 minutes, instead of rushing through it, you can just let the water pour. You can experience the water. You can wash your body. You can dry it all off. And when you finish, you're not sweating. And you had the same amount of time. The nervousness and all of that comes from the way that you decide to process. Now, in the physical world, you understand that if you hurry and rush and are filled with 1,000 different activities, that you have decreased your efficiency. Why isn't the same thing true in the mental world, in your mind? If you are filling your mind with all of the things that you have to do, and you're worried about all of those things and get yourself all consumed with them, then you're still going to be less efficient, less effective, and you're still going to be cluttered. At a moment like that, you put on a tape. If you're going to drive, you got to drive. You can't get the bananas and the diapers and the report done and the IRS taken care of in the car on the freeway. You can't do that then. You're driving. So why not be here now, as Ram Dass says? Be here now. Here's some music. Put on a tape. Meditate right there. Don't close your eyes. But just like push it all out. All of that's going to get handled. But meantime, I'm going to enjoy this. My ride from my home to my office is 17 miles. I love those 17 miles. There's a million things to see in those 17 miles. I cannot write my books or get my speeches. I can't do any of that in that time. But I can enjoy all of that. I can be there with it. I can open the windows and I can let the wind blow on me and I can experience that and enjoy all of that. And when I get to where I'm going, if I've got to get the report done, I'm now prepared to do it. I'm not working on the report thinking about my taxes or getting the diapers or getting the bananas or whatever it may be. I'm here now in the moment. That's what meditating teaches you. Being here now in the moment. Quiet, joyful, peaceful. When you're there and you get your mind trained to do that, that isn't just like something you do for 15 minutes a day just to give you something to do for that 15 minutes. That carries over into everything that you do.
If you view yourself disrespectfully, you've forsaken or cast aside, or at the very least, you've sullied your connection to the power of intention. It's important that you recognize that your entire worldview is based on how much respect you have for yourself. It has nothing to do with what others may think of you. Your self-respect comes from the self, and the self alone. If you fail to respect yourself, you're showing contempt for the process of creation. How do you return to the self in self-respect? Well, rather than judging those who judge you, thereby lowering your self-respect, send them a silent blessing of forgiveness, and imagine them doing the same toward you. You're connecting to intention and guaranteeing that you'll always respect the divinity that you are. You've cleared the path to be able to enjoy the great power that is yours in that field of intention. 10 ways or 10 steps to practice nurturing your intention to respect yourself at all times. Here's step 1. Look into a mirror. Make eye connection with yourself and say, I love me, as many times as possible during your day. I love me. These 3 magic words help you maintain your self-respect. Your immediate impulse might be to see this as an expression of your ego's desire to be superior to everyone else, but this is not an ego statement at all. It's an affirmation of self-respect. Transcend that ego mind and affirm your love for yourself and your connection to the Spirit of God. This doesn't make you superior to anyone. It makes you equal to all and celebrates that you're a piece of God. Affirm it in order to be respectful of that which intended you here. Affirm it because it's the way you're going to stay connected to your source and regain the power of intention. I love me. Say it proudly and be that image of love and self-respect. Step 2. Write the following affirmation and repeat it over and over again to yourself. I am whole and perfect as I was created. Carry this thought with you wherever you go. Have it laminated and placed in your pocket or on your dashboard or on your refrigerator or even next to your bed. Allow the words to become a source of high energy and self-respect. By simply carrying these words with you and being in the same space with them, their energy will flow directly to you. Over and over, remind yourself, I'm not my body, I'm not my accumulations, I'm not my achievements, I'm not my reputation. I am whole and perfect as I was created. Step 3. Extend more respect to others and to all of life. Perhaps the greatest secret of self-esteem is to appreciate other people more. The easiest way to do this is to see the unfolding of God in them. Look past the judgments of others' appearances, failures and successes, their status in society, their wealth or their lack of it, and extend appreciation and love to the source from which they came. Everyone is a child of God. Everyone. Remember, when you judge another, you do not define them. You define yourself as someone who needs to judge. The same applies to judgments directed at you. Step 4. Affirm to yourself and all others that you meet, I belong. A sense of belonging is one of the highest attributes on Abraham Maslow's pyramid of self-actualization. Feeling that you don't belong or you're in the wrong place can be due to a lack of self-respect. Respect yourself and your divinity by knowing that everyone belongs. This should never come into question. Your presence here in this universe is proof alone that you belong here. The wisdom of creation intended you to be here, in this place, in this family, with these siblings and parents, occupying this precious space in this time. Say it to yourself and say it over and over again. I belong, and so does everyone else. No one is here by accidents. There are no accidents in this universe. Step 5. Remind yourself that you're never alone. My self-respect stays intact as long as I know that it's impossible for me to be alone. I have what I call a senior partner who's never abandoned me and who stuck with me even in moments when I had seemingly deserted my source. I feel that if the universal mind has enough respect to allow me to come here and to work through me and to protect me in times when I strayed onto dangerous non-spiritual turf, then this very partnership deserves my reciprocal respect. Step 6. Respect your body. You've been provided with a perfect body to house your inner invisible being for a few brief moments in eternity. Regardless of its size or shape or color or any imagined infirmities, it's a perfect creation for the purpose that you were intended here for. You don't need to work at getting healthy. Health is something you already have if you don't disturb it. You can begin the fulfillment of this intention to live a life of self-respect by honoring the temple that houses you. Go within, listen to your body, and treat it with all of the dignity and love that your self-respect demands. Step 7. Meditate. Always meditate to stay in conscious contact with your source, which always respects you. I can't say this enough. Meditation is a way to experience what the 5 senses can't detect. When you're connected to the field of intention, you're connected to the wisdom that's within you. The divine wisdom has great respect for you, and it cherishes you while you're here. Regardless of all that goes on around you, when you enter into that sacred space of meditation, all doubts about your value as an esteemed creation dissolve. You'll emerge from the solemnity of meditation feeling connected to your source and enjoying respect for all beings, particularly yourself. Step 8. Make amends with adversaries. The act of making amends sends out a signal of respect for your adversaries. By radiating this forgiveness energy outward, you'll find this same kind of respectful, positive energy flowing back toward you. If you're filled with rage toward anyone, there's a huge part of you that resents the presence of this debilitating energy. Take a moment right here and now to simply face that person who stands out in your mind as someone you hurt or directed hurt towards you, and tell him or her that you'd like to make amends. You'll notice how much better you feel. The good feeling of having cleared the air is self-respect. It takes much more courage and strength of character and inner conviction to make amends than it does to hang on to the low energy feelings. Step 9. Always remember the self in self-respect. In order to do this, you must recognize that the opinions of others towards you aren't facts, they're opinions. When I speak to an audience of 500 people, there are 500 opinions of me in the room at the end of the evening. I'm none of those opinions. I can't be responsible for how they view me. The only thing I can be responsible for is my own character, and this is true for every single one of us. If I respect myself, then I'm relying on the self in self-respect. And finally, step 10. Always be in a state of gratitude. Be an appreciator rather than a depreciator of everything that shows up in your life. Thank you, God, for everything.
What I'd like to remind all of you, and it's where I took my own take on something called The Secret, which many of you saw the movie of it, and many of you read the books and so on. I had a little different take on that. I said, we do not attract into our lives what we want. We attract what we are. And who we are is really nothing more than the beliefs that we carry around about who we are and what we're capable of doing. For example, if you're a woman, what is it possible for you to do? What did you learn when you were a young girl about what women can do, about what women can't do? When I was in high school, when I graduated from high school in 1958, I think 1 or 2% of the people admitted to medical school and law school were women. Today, a half a century or more later, it's 50%. We've changed. But these memes are things that, we grew up to believe in. What is possible for me, what's not possible for me, what can happen, can I attract something into my life, can I not, and so on. And most of these are just viruses. They're viruses that are in our minds that convince us that we can't change, we can't make things happen, or we can make things happen, but somebody else has to do it for us. You are the product of all of the choices that you've made up until now in your life. And you say, well, wait a minute, I'm shy, and I was shy as a little kid, and I learned all of this from my mother who told me that I couldn't do this. And I said, and were there other kids who had mothers who told them that and ignored that? Well, yeah, we had a few kids like that in our well, so they didn't choose that, and you did. So I'm not saying that you want to be filled with resentment towards anybody for any of the things that are going on in your life. What I'm suggesting is that if somebody else is responsible for what it is that you are in your life, I used to tell my patients when I had a practice out in New York years ago when I was teaching at St. John's University in Queens, New York, I used to tell them, I'd say, who is it that's responsible for all of these things about you? And they'd say, well, it was, you know, my culture and my parents, my mother particularly. She was, when mothers take a big rap on all of this stuff. I'd say, so it was your mother? Yes. So I want you to leave my office, and I want you to go get her. And I want you to bring her to me, and I will treat her, and you will get better. Total responsibility for everything, even your illnesses, even your infirmities, whatever it is. If you're waiting for whoever caused it to change, then you're waiting for Godot, the famous play, and Godot never shows up. What are the payoffs? Like, all human behavior has a payoff, no matter what it is. All of these excuses, you get something from it. I'm just going to go through very quickly, because I want to get to the next one. I like the next one a lot. All right? We continue with these excuses because they help us to avoid the real work of going within and becoming who we know we were destined to become. We have a calling inside of us that says, I want to do this, but there's something I'm avoiding, and if I use an excuse, then I have a ready cop-out. I'm safer. I can use these excuses to manipulate other people. I can use these excuses to be right. In all of my engagements and all of my conversations and everything, I just need to be right. I can use it to blame other people. I can use it to protect myself from anything that might be dangerous out there. I can use it to escape becoming a stronger, more vivacious, more intelligent, more dominant human being as a human being. So all of these are, and I've written books about this earlier in my career. It's not my purpose here to give you all of that, but know that all of your behaviors have built into them a payoff. The next question is one of the most important questions that I think you can ask. And this is a paradigm that if you get this, I think you'll be able to make the changes. What would my life look like if I couldn't use these excuses? If I just somehow a magic wand was passed over my head and it said, you can no longer think that it's going to be difficult. You can no longer think that it's going to be risky. You can no longer think in blame terms. You can no longer think you're too old, or that you're too young, or that you're too weak, or you're not strong enough, or whatever it might be. If you just couldn't think that, and I will ask people that question over and over again, and they start thinking about it, they start going into the excuse, I say, wait a minute. You can't think that in this little exercise that we're doing here. What would your life look like if you couldn't use the excuse? And you know what almost everybody says? I would be free. I would feel free for the first time in my life. If I couldn't blame somebody else, if I couldn't use one of these cop-outs, one of these misalignments that I've been using in my life, I would finally feel free. And then as you begin to realize that, I think one of the most important things that you can learn about this paradigm is to ask yourself, like, how would I feel? How would I feel? So the first question to ask yourself, any of you, about what it is that is something you've been hanging on to for a very long time, that is a part of your life that you find almost impossible to change. Even though you know what to think and you've been to all the seminars, you've read the books, you've done the right things, you still find yourself going back and slipping back into habituated ways of behaving and thinking, right? And what I'm suggesting to all of you here today is that in moments, like for every single person who this morning decided to do something about their sugar intake based upon what we did yesterday, you have demonstrated that you are now about to embark on a new way of being. You've demonstrated it. Even if you just checked a package and seen how many sugar grams were in what it was you were going to eat and then ate it anyway, it doesn't matter. Even if you smoke Pacololo every single day and you said, you know what, maybe this isn't good for my brain, but I think maybe tonight I'll just think about it tomorrow. You're on your way. Because we become what we think about, whether we want it or not. If you have a choice to think a thought that may or may not be true, but thinking that thought will keep you from where you want to go, versus thinking a thought that may or may not be true, but thinking that thought will at least give you a chance to get to where you want to be, why do we continue to take the first choice when the second choice is the only option we have for changing our conception of ourselves? But we train ourselves through this subconscious meme training that we've had to start believing in things that are going to keep us from ever getting where we want to go. If you have a choice to think a thought that may or may not be true, but it will keep you from getting to where you want to be, versus thinking a thought that may or may not be true, but will at least give you an opportunity to get there, what's the choice? This is what Lao Tzu was telling me over and over and over again. Teach people to take the excuses that they use and to put them into a context that may or may not be true, and ask them to reverse it, and then pick the one that will at least get you to where you want to be. The woman that sat next to me on the airport, I've never forgotten her. She was a photographer here on Maui. She was doing a wedding, and then she was on her way back. We were sitting on an airplane on American Airlines, and she put above the seat a whole bunch of photographic equipment, and I asked her about it, and I said, what do you do? She said, I'm a photographer. I said, do you like it? Do you enjoy it? She said, yes. She said, but I'll never get rich at it. And I said, would you like to get rich? And she said, of course, who wouldn't want to be rich? And I said, let me see if I understand you. You would like to be rich, but the thoughts you carry around in your head are, I'll never get there. What's the reverse of I'll never get there? I will get there. It's on its way. In fact, I'm already here. Why wouldn't you think that thought? So now, the second question is, where did these thoughts come from? They came from you. You bought into all of this stuff. All of us bought into this little stuff. The I'm too young or I'm too old. Like our age has something to do with what we can create or do in our lives. There's endless examples of people who've overcome that. You know, Louise Hay started Hay House Publishing at the age of 61. It's 22 years. She's 83. CEO of the largest publishing company in the world on spiritual and higher consciousness materials. And she started it at 61 because she didn't buy into that meme. So what I say to you is that there were kids in school next to you who were told the very same thing that you were told. Your siblings were told the same things by the same mother. Some of your siblings didn't buy into that at all. And some of them did, and some of them got scared. And what I say to you is, even though you didn't know it at the time, you were still making choices to buy it. If you're not willing to take responsibility for having chosen to carry around these beliefs, then you have no chance of overcoming them. You have as much chance as if you send your mother to me and I treat her and you expect to get better. It just isn't going to happen. So I say to you, the answer to the second question is, I chose them all. And I say that to you about everything, even your most serious illnesses. Take responsibility for it. It's yours. You own it. Don't feel yourself that you were being punished, that it was some karmic debt, that there was something bad happened in a previous life and you were an axe murderer and now you're getting this. Don't do that. But take responsibility for it, because the minute you say, I chose it, it's mine, I carry it around with me, I live with it, I breathe with it, I bleed it, which is what I do with my leukemia. That's what I do with it. It's mine, I own it, I took it on, and that's the only chance I have of saying goodbye to it. It's the only chance. I can blame this girl or that girl or my children or, all of the different traumas in my life. I can blame the environment. I can blame the food we eat, the mercury in the fish. I can blame it all, the Ayatollahs. It's got to be somebody else's fault. It can't be mine. I don't get leukemia. It's mine. I was a vibrational match to it. I take responsibility for it. And now, the third question is, what are my payoffs? What do you think is the major payoff? I go through about 10 of them in the book. The payoff for using the meme. Psychological payoffs. Avoidance of doing what I came here to do. It's simply easier. Now here's the fourth question, and this is all I'm going to do. What would your life look like if you couldn't use those excuses that you've been using? If you just couldn't come up with them, if somehow I wired your brain in such a way that you could not think those three thoughts, what would your life look like? If you couldn't think the thoughts that you've been thinking that are keeping you from where you want to be, you would feel more joy, more accomplished. What I'm saying to all of you is that if you want to overcome any of the things that you think came to you as a result of abuse, abandonment, brokenness, despair, depressed parents, whatever it might be, certainly don't exclude that and just toss it out the window and say it's not relevant. But recognize that you just didn't have the strength then, but that was then and this is now.
So the bottom of this scale is 20. It's the very lowest thought that you can have. And it will always weaken you. Not only will it weaken you, but it will ultimately destroy you, such as its weakness. It's at 20, it's shame. So if you are using shame on yourself, or you're using shame as a way of parenting or working with others, what you are doing is you are always using an emotional energy that will weaken. The emotion that accompanies shame is called humiliation. And the life view is one of misery, and the God view, the view of God, is one of despising. God despises us. We are ashamed. There's something wrong with us. The next level up, which is very, very low and will always weaken you, is 30, is guilt. Feeling guilty. The emotion that accompanies it is blame. The God view is one of God as vindictive. God is punishing. And the life view is one of life is evil. There's something wrong with life. The next level up is one that's called 50. And this level is the emotion that accompanies that is despair. So that apathy and despair go together. The God view is one of God as condemning. And the life view is that life is hopeless. There's not much that we can do. The next level up is 75, which still weakens us. It's grief. The emotion is regret. God's view is disdainful. And the life view is one of tragic. Life is tragic. We are now moving to 100, which is called fear. And the emotion that accompanies fear is anxiety. The God view is one of punitive. God is punishing. And life view, frightening. Life is frightening. Now we move up to 125, what he calls desire. And the emotion that accompanies that is craving. Always wanting to get someplace else. The life view is one of life is disappointing. And the God view is denial, denying. Now we move to 150. We are still at emotions and thoughts that you have that will weaken you. At 150, the emotion that accompanies it is hate. The life view is that life is antagonistic. And the God view is that God is vengeful. We are now moving closer to that which will strengthen us, to something called pride. Pride. And the emotion that accompanies pride is called scorn. The life view is that life is very demanding. And the God view is that God is indifferent. Doesn't care one way or the other. Now we move to 200. We are now making a distinction between being able to recognize truth from falsehood. This is called courage. And the emotion that accompanies courage is affirmation, affirming, life is affirming. The life view is that it is feasible. And the God view is that God is permitting. God allows us. All right. Now we move to 250. We are now talking about emotions and thoughts which strengthen us. At 250, trust is the emotion. Neutrality is the level of thought. The life view is life is satisfactory, and that the view of God is that God is enabling. God enables us. We move now to 310, what he calls willingness. Willingness. Whereas the emotion of willingness is something called optimism, an optimistic view of life. The life view is that life is hopeful. And the God view is that God is inspiring. Now we have moved from God being despising and vindictive and punitive and vengeful and indifferent and permitting and enabling to now God is inspiring. At 350, acceptance, the emotion is forgiveness. I accept and I forgive. The life view is that life is harmonious, and the God view is that God is merciful. Mercy. We now move to 400, where very, very few people ever get to, called reason. The emotion of reason is understanding. The life view is that life is meaningful. There's a meaning to all of this. And the God view is that God is not only merciful and inspiring, but God is wise. Wisdom comes with knowing God. Now we move to 500, which we're talking about a handful of people. The level is called love. The emotion is reverence. The life view is that life is benign, non-cancerous, non-debilitating. And the God view is that God is loving. At 540, the level of joy, where there is sadness, let me bring joy, remember. The emotion is serenity, a sense of just being serene in life. The life view is that life is complete. I am complete. And the God view is that all is one. All is one. At 600, the level of peace, the emotion is bliss. So it's not just serenity, but it's bliss, which is that wonderful, great, good feeling, continuous. Life view, life is not only complete, it is perfect. And the God view, all being. And finally, enlightenment, between 700 and 1,000. The emotion that goes with the sense of enlightenment is what he calls the ineffable. Ineffable. Life view, everything is. There's no judgment. And the God view, self. The self is God.
What follows is my 10-step program for implementing the intentions or to attract the right people into your life. Step 1. Move away from hoping, wishing, praying, and begging for the right person or people to show up in your life. Know that this is a universe that works on energy and attraction. Remind yourself that you have the power to attract the right people to assist you with any desire, as long as you're able to shift from ego-driven energy to match up
with the all-providing source of intention. This very first step is crucial, because if you can't banish all doubt about your ability to attract helpful, creative, loving people, then the remaining 9 steps will be of little use to you. Intending ideal people and divine partners begins with the knowing in your heart that it's not only a possibility, but a certainty. Step 2. Conceptualize your invisible connection to the people you'd like to attract to your life. Let go of your exclusive identification with the appearance of your body and its possessions. Identify with the invisible energy within you that sustains your life by directing the functions of your body. Now recognize that this same energy source flowing through the people you perceive to be missing from your life, and then realign yourself in thought with that person or persons. Know within you that this power of intention connects the two of you. Your thoughts of creating this merger also emanate from that same field of universal intention. Step 3. Form a picture in your mind of meeting the person or persons you'd like to have assist you or be in partnership with. Manifesting is a function of spiritual intention, matching up in vibrational harmony with your desires. Be as specific as you'd like, but don't share this visualizing technique with anyone else, because then you'll be asked to explain yourself, defend yourself, and have to deal with the low energy of doubt that will inevitably occur. This is a private exercise between you and your source. Step 4. Act upon the inner picture. Begin to act as if everyone you meet is a part of your intention to attract ideal people into your life. Share with others your needs and desires without going into detail about your spiritual methodology. Be proactive and stay alert for signs of synchronicity, never ignoring them. If a truck drives by with a phone number advertising what you need, jot the number down and call it. See all so-called bizarre coincidences surrounding your desires as messages from Source and act upon them immediately. I assure you that they'll occur repeatedly. Step 5. Take the path of least resistance. Resistance is lowered energy. Source is high energy. High, creative, expansive energy. When your thoughts are low energy vibrations, you simply can't attract the high energy people you need or desire. Even if they came rushing up to you announcing, "Here I am, how can I serve you? I'm willing and able," and carrying a sign saying, "I'm yours," you wouldn't recognize or believe them while you're so busy trying to attract more of what you can't have and don't deserve. Step 6. Practice being the kind of person you wish to attract. As I've touched on before, if you want to be loved unconditionally, practice loving unconditionally. If you want assistance from others, extend assistance whenever and wherever you have the opportunity. If you'd like to be the recipient of generosity, then be as generous as you can, as frequently as you can. This is one of the simplest and most effective ways of attracting the power of intention. Step 7. Detach from the outcome and practice infinite patience. This is the crucial step of faith. Don't make the mistake of evaluating your intentions as successes or failures on the basis of your little ego and its personal time schedule. Put out your intention and practice everything that I'm speaking about in this tape, and then let go. Create a knowing within and let the universal mind of intention handle the details. Step 8. Practice meditation, particularly the japa meditation, to attract ideal people and divine relationships. Practice the repetition of the sound that is in the name of God as a mantra, literally seeing in your mind's eye the energy you're radiating, bringing the people you desire into your life. You will be astounded by the results. Step 9. Look upon everyone who has ever played any role in your life as having been sent to you for your benefit. Everything and everyone in your personal history had to be there when they were. And what's the evidence for this? There they were. They were there. That's all you need to know. Don't use what transpired in the wake or the wrong people who showed up in your wake as a reason why you can't attract the right person today. It's your past, nothing more than a trail you've left behind. And finally, step 10, as always, remain in a state of eternal gratitude. Even be grateful for those whose presence may have caused you pain and suffering. Be thankful to your source for sending them and to yourself for attracting them to you. They all had something to teach you. Now be grateful for everyone God sends to your path, and know as a co-creator that it's up to you to either resonate with the high, loving energy of intention and keep those like-energized people in your life, or give them a silent blessing and a pleasant no thank you. And the emphasis is on the thank you, for that is true gratitude in action. Through relationships with others and by using the power of intention, we can radiate outward all of the energy necessary to attract what we desire. I urge you to move into this awareness now and know in your heart, just as the farmer in Field of Dreams knew, that if you build this inner dream, surely it will come.